by demonstrating how the American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program helped American Indian students and adults with disabilities. This webinar will share information about the American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program and share with you success stories. It is the custom for us American Indians to begin any important gathering or commemoration or celebration with an opening prayer and honor song. I am honored to introduce to you Mr. Darren Cisco, the Cultural Services Specialist at the Apache Tribe of Oklahoma's Vocational Rehabilitation Program.
Thank you, August. Ask everybody to pray along with me today on this wonderful day. Dakhiashe, say don't nis. Ati katinde, asle chwe, isha da deju, asle chwe, da deju. Who kayang isha da deju, ebish all from this is that deju, from this is 18. Dakhiashe, Dagatunipa, asle dak us isha da deju. Has chi anta esjana, asle chwe, china, dakhina, dakhi. So young is out audition, you wish own for this got this one, this is 18. I got Chunipa, I said you. Look down on each and every one of us on this earth today. What we're faced with in our day-to-day lives, what we're faced with, and how we try to help one another and help other people. You give us the words, the thoughts, the actions to truly help them some way, somehow. That they want to help themselves also. Watch over our people, give them good protection, good health. A lot of our people are sick in homes and hospitals. You take care of them, watch over them. Our loved ones, our friends, our relatives. It's hard for us to not be able to go up and hug somebody, to go up and tell somebody hello through this time that we're going through. But I ask you to give us all strength, give us all courage and the wisdom and the knowledge to help keep ourselves safe and healthy. Say, don't need, we need your help like that. I ask you, don't need. I thank you today for each and every one of us here, all the people out there that wherever they are on this earth, you take care of them, their relatives, their people, their friends. Say, don't need. Say,
Thank you, Darren Cisco.
Yo ho, yo ho, hey yo, hey, hey, yo, hey, yo ho, yo ho, hey yo, hey, yo, hey yo ho, hey yo, yo, hey yo, hey yo, Akia. Asle Fisha. Thank you.
Groshish Hawa. Thank you, Darren Cisco. Providing welcoming and opening remarks, it is my honor to introduce Mark Schultz, the Commissioner of the Rehabilitation Services Administration, who has also been delegated the authority to perform the functions and duties of the Assistant Secretary for the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services.
Thank you, August. And thank you, Darren, for such a meaningful ceremonial opening today. I want to welcome you all to RSA's VR100 webinar. Today's webinar is part of our continuing series of celebrations of the 100th anniversary of the VR program. Today, we feature and celebrate our American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services programs, also referred to as AVRS. Since its inception in the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the AVRS program has become an integral part of the public VR program. And it's fitting that we highlight the AVRS program today and their rich history in providing cultural VR services to American Indian and Alaska Native people with disabilities, because November is Native American Heritage Month. This webinar highlights some of the unique features and successes of the AVRS program, including the use of traditional practices as part of a holistic approach to the delivery of services. The delivery of services and the incorporation of traditional paths to employment in the individual plans for employment where appropriate. Many tribes face stay-at-home orders and limited access to the internet and remote services during the initial onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. That made it pretty difficult to provide for continuity of services during that time. And so as part of the webinar today, you're going to hear information about the kinds of adjustments the AVRS programs have made to continue to provide services during the COVID pandemic. Today, we also celebrate the benefits of collaboration between AVRS and state VR agencies. AVRS projects can be of great help to state VR agencies in understanding and providing services to Native Americans with disabilities served by state VR agencies. Likewise, state VR agencies can be of help to AVRS projects in areas such as pre-employment transition services. This partnership is not just a good idea. AVRS projects must have an MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, with their state agency. I encourage you to make this a meaningful document and a meaningful partnership, as the true beneficiaries of your partnership will be the individuals with disabilities you serve. To that end, the final segment of this webinar is a discussion about how AVRS projects and state VR agencies can build a partnership that maximizes the provision of VR services for AVRS participants. I want to thank you for joining us today as we feature and celebrate the AVRS programs. And we hope that you find the presentations both informative and useful in your work. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. And now please welcome Corinne Weidenthal, the Chief of the Service Programs Unit of the Rehabilitation Services Administration, to provide a brief overview of the American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Schultz, for providing those opening remarks, as well as Darren and everybody who has really spent a lot of time and effort to arrange for this webinar today for you. We're excited that you're able to join us and help us in celebrating the AIVRS program here in RSA. So I'm going to provide just a little bit of some background information about the American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program, better known as AIVRS or AVRS. It was first authorized in the 1973 amendments to the Rehabilitation Act. Through the 1960s, with assistance with the Navajo Nation, RSA determined that American Indians were not receiving vocational rehabilitation services from state VR agencies at the same rate as non-American Indians. To address this deficiency, RSA amended the Act to include what is now Section 121, that authorized governing bodies of Indian tribes to enter into a grant agreement with RSA to provide culturally appropriate VR services to American Indians who reside on or near federal or state reservations. Next slide, please. So the purpose of the AIVRS program is to provide VR services, as I mentioned earlier, that includes culturally appropriate services, very important component of the program, to American Indians with disabilities who reside on or near federal or state reservations. These services are consistent with such eligible individual strengths, resources, priorities, concerns, abilities, capabilities, interests, and informed choice. The AIVRS program aims to assist each individual in preparing for and engaging in high-quality employment that will increase opportunities for economic self-sufficiency. Next slide, please. So this slide talks about the legislation that authorized the program. The commissioner reserves from the amount appropriated not less than 1% and not more than 1.5% to be allocated to the AIVRS programs. Additionally, Section 121 of the Act from the funds appropriated and made available to the AIVRS program, the commissioner reserves not less than 1.8% and not more than 2% of the funds to provide training and technical assistance to AIVRS grantees, and that's currently known as the AVERTAC, who is hosting today. Next slide. So in terms of the funding amount and the current number of grants and tribes that we serve, the amount that was allocated for the AIVRS program in fiscal year 2020 was $45,250,000. We currently are funding 86 projects in 26 states. Some of the grants were funded to a consortium of tribes. So the number of tribes receiving VR services are estimated closer to 110 and 120 federal and state recognized tribes. So this is our AIVRS team here in RSA, myself, Jerry Elliott, who is the program officer for the AVERTAC, Joy Harris, August Martin, and Ronica Marable. We're happy to respond to any questions you may have at some point. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all. I'll turn it back over to you, August.
Thank you, Corrine.
Thank you.
It is my pleasure to introduce you to Laura Maudsley from the Northwest Indian College and Dr. Beth Boland from Western Washington University to discuss the need for and impact of the Tribal Vocational Rehabilitation Institute.
Thank you, August. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our work with you. My name is Laura Maudsley, and I am the director of the TVR Institute. My background in TVR is working for 3 years as a counselor at the South Puget Intertribal Planning Agency and for 9 years as a program director at the North Intertribal VR program. Both of these programs are in Washington State.
And I am Dr. Beth Boland. I'm the Assistant Director of the TVR Institute. I'm also a professor and the Program Director for the Rehabilitation Counseling Master's Program at Western Washington University.
Next slide, please. So the purpose of the TVR Institute is the RSA Capacity Building for Traditionally Underserved Populations grant that funded the Institute in 2015 was to improve the knowledge and skills of American Indian VR services personnel so that they can provide appropriate, effective, and culturally relevant VR services to assist American Indians with disabilities to prepare for and engage in gainful employment consistent with their informed choice. Next slide, please. The need for the Institute, as determined by RSA, was based on several factors. Generally, TVR programs are able to hire staff who have community and cultural knowledge, as well as experience with providing services to community members, but do not have experience with or exposure to VR. Many TVR programs are located in remote rural locations without access to training or contact with other TVR programs that can provide support and resources. Additionally, internet access is non-existent or unreliable in many tribal communities. Many TVR programs experience high levels of turnover, and our staff often consider work in TVR a job rather than a career. There's also been a lack of a formal system to provide TVR foundational skills and knowledge to program staff across the country. Slide, please. So the Institute operates through a partnership between Northwest Indian College and the Masters in Rehabilitation Counseling Program at Western Washington University in Washington State. We're currently in year 6 of what was initially a 5-year grant. Our current staff is myself as the director, Beth as the assistant director, our participant coordinator, Mackenzie Pham, and our faculty, Donna Adamson, Rachel Allen, Letitia Freed, Kimber Olson, Nancy Riddick, Angie Santa Ana, and Rachel Silvas. Next slide, please. So our courses are online hybrid courses, meaning that the students attend class over the internet twice a week. The classes are recorded and posted in Canvas, which is our online learning management system at Northwest Indian College. And Canvas is also where students post discussion board responses and their assignments. Classes can also be accessed by phone if a student doesn't have internet access, and weekly class recordings on CD have been mailed to students without internet access in the past. And beside the content presented by instructors, students have also benefited by learning from and sharing with each other in class. The Institute is currently offering 7 courses on foundational skills and knowledge in 5 elective courses. Students who complete the foundational courses earn an award of completion in TVRS services or TVR services. Next slide, please. So these are our foundational courses. TVR's 301 history is an introduction to TVR. TVRS 302 communication covers communication with participants as well as communicating with the tribal structure and community. TVRS 303 is assessment and eligibility. TVRS 304 covers IPE development. TVRS 305 covers case record and management. 306, job search and employment. And TVRS 307 covers resource management, which is managing resources from a counselor point of view. Next slide, please. And then these are our current elective courses. We have 308, which is addictions in TVR services. 309 is medical aspects. 310 is psychiatric disabilities. 311 is financial management, which is based on our financial management toolkit. And TVRS 312 covers advanced counseling techniques. Next slide.
So this slide talks about our students. And so I know some of the students, I recognize some names, are on this webinar today, so welcome. And about 90% of our students are staff working at these AVERS programs, which obviously are located in those tribal communities. And just a little bit about assessment. We do a pre-assessment and post-assessment to compare gains in knowledge and skills. And we can say that we can show that they have gained knowledge, and skills after our courses. Next slide, please. This is just a map of where our Institute students reside. And we just thought it was important to show this because sometimes people think since we're located in Northwest Washington, that's the only place that our students are, but we do serve tribal programs across the country. Next slide, please. So some Institute outcomes to date focused on our students. And so like Laura said, we've offered college credit through Northwest Indian College for those 12 different courses that she reviewed. And if we think about the number of students that we've been able to serve, we've had 211 students taking multiple classes through the Institute, and this represents 61 of those programs. And so, we're reaching a lot of the AVERS programs. And we've also had students from 3 state DVR agencies, just to show that collaboration between state agencies and AVERS programs. 55 participants have earned that award of completion through the summer quarter of 2020. And we also provide one-on-one TA services. So not to overstep on AVERTAC's TA, but this is really related to providing them more information and more guidance in what they learned in the particular classes that they took. And we've had some data collection around students who've taken 3 or more classes, and 31% of them have reported a pay increase or promotion. And so this is another metric that we're using to see the impact of our courses. Also, 43% reported that they have taken further training or have enrolled in continuing education following the Institute classes. So this was a big part of the capacity building grant too, is just to help support students in furthering their training. Next slide, please. Some other outcomes to date of products that we've created to help with the sustainability of our Institute. Laura mentioned the Financial Management Toolkit. So this is a toolkit which covers financial and program management topics for a director to consider when creating or maintaining a TVR program. And this toolkit is free and it's available on our Institute website. We've also developed, scripted, and filmed 17 instructional training videos that cover various topics in the TVR process. And we created them because our students could not find videos on providing TVR services like on YouTube and other places that focused on tribal voc rehab. The videos are teaching tools and illustrate many situations that students may question or disagree with. And so they're not designed to be the perfect counseling sessions. They're designed to provide discussion topics and to talk about what might have been done better in those sessions. And they are available on the Clearinghouse website. Our latest outcome is a TVR handbook. And so I've been asked to show. So this is our TVR handbook. And it is a combination of the materials that we've created for those 7 foundational TVRS courses. And the ebook version will be available soon on the Institute website and also, I believe, the Clearinghouse. And just a thank you to Mary Maruvia for getting us started on that TVR handbook and being a support through that process. Next slide, please. And we just wanted to share with you the names of our advisory board members. They have been very instrumental in helping us with planning, evaluation, strategizing, recruiting students and faculty, reviewing the curriculum and all of our projects. And we're so grateful for their feedback and support. So Jana Finkbonner, Rebecca Holland, Jill Kelly, Rhonda Martinez McFarland, Mary Maruvia, Treva Ronhorst, and Gail Sorensen. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bowen and Laura Mosley. And now the Comanche Tribe of Oklahoma presents a success story of Donna.
Donna is a 67-year-old elder. She had attended college many years ago, beginning in 1985. She returned back to college in 2014. She lived in student housing. In 2016, she obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in psychology. Her future plan is to obtain a certified drug and alcohol certificate, which will enable her to work in a drug and alcohol treatment program.
I have many disabilities at this time, but I don't feel like they affect my goal. And as a matter of fact, I feel like they have motivated me to be more focused about life and doing things to help other people. And that is my goal, to help other people. I have a chronic disability of diabetes, and I also have injuries that I suffered from accidents, previous accident. I had been in I have been working in a manual job in Hobart, Oklahoma, and I've been over simply to place parts on a pallet, and I blew my back out, and that was the beginning of that. And I also reached a point where I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair for 3 years, and I really felt like that was the end of my time, and I didn't want to leave this world, as I have 3 children, 15 grandchildren, and 21 great-grandchildren. But I just felt like I had a reason to live more so, and I asked God to heal me, and I really felt like He healed my body and helped me to walk again. And with that healing, He motivated me to do more for my people. I have a heart to help my people now. My major was psychology, and my minor is health. My desire is to do counseling for drug and alcohol abuse and to help my people as there is a need there. And I feel like even as we are older, I am older, I can really use some of the wisdom and knowledge I've gained throughout my life to help my people. And I may not do it all, but just to help one person is my goal. If I could help one person, I feel like I've attained something in life that I never had before. I started in 1999, and of course in 2000 is when I lost my ability to walk. And when I started back to school in 2004, it was with the Voc Rehab Program. And I went to Catocala Technology Center in Fort Cobb, and I did business work. And of course, when I graduated from there in 2006 with different certifications and different which I loved. And when I left that place, I came back to college in 2010 and got my prereqs for nursing. And I graduated with an associate in interdisciplinary studies in 2013. And when I blew my back out, I went to LPN school at Catocala, and I blew my back out and had to have surgery again, and was told then that if I continue on that route, that I would probably have a titanium rod in my back to secure it, and I do not want that. So I changed directions, and I went to school at Cameron once again. This time I started in 2014, and I took psychology courses, and of course I graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in health. My desire is to work with counseling for drug and alcohol abuse, and I feel like after researching that the program at UCO in Edmond would be a perfect program for me, and I desire to attain a master's degree in counseling for drugs and alcohol. It would be psychology related. And of course, there's numerous things that you have to take along with counseling, but that is my final goal. Actually, the rehabilitative program had set up at the clinic in Anadarko, and I was coming through there, and I knew Elaine Antone, and she was working there as one of the representatives for the program, and I talked to her, and she had me fill out some papers. I told her that I was trying to go to school at Cameron, and And she said, well, I was with the state program out of Weatherford that put me through the Catocala program for nursing. And I told her that, and she said, if you're going to go to Cameron, you'll be in our jurisdiction. Just fill out your paperwork. So I did. They helped me with everything. I mean, from school supplies, which I needed, to clothing even, you know, and bus passes to get from point A to point B, as I do not drive. And I lived in the dorms, and they were a great assistance to me, and I'll never, ever forget that.
To an individual, American Indian who has a disability or disabilities in becoming successful in their employment goal?
The Comanche Rehab Program has been awesome with everything. Elaine Antone has been a great counselor. Any problem I've had, I could pick up the phone and call her. She's available. She'll discuss with me, let me talk at length, you know, and then give me her take on it. And anytime I've had any kind of an issue, she has always been there. And if she wasn't available, someone else would get on the line and they would talk me through it. And I would always feel confident that I had your back and throughout the entire time. And it's important to feel that, I think, to every individual who goes through a program, to know, because some people tend to just kind of put you on the side after you're in their program. And I've had that happen before, not with the Comanche Rehab Program. It has been just awesome, everything that I can think of. You know, if I didn't have your backing, I don't know what I'd have done. Y'all were the only ones who helped me throughout the entire semesters that I was there since I've been in your program. My own grandchildren look at me differently since I've graduated. And I not only talk to them, but I talk to every young person I come in contact with to do their education, and do it now while they're young. Don't wait until they're as old as me, you know, because it's harder. It's harder because you lack short-term memory. And everything that I've learned, I've had to literally learn. I couldn't rely on memory at all. I had to learn this stuff, and it was extra work.
Donna is a 67-year-old.
Okay, to discuss traditional healing impacting the counseling relationship, please welcome Ms. Esther Littlewolf, Vocational Rehabilitation Counselor for the Northern Cheyenne Tribe's Vocational Rehabilitation Program.
My name is Wayne Daigle. I'm the co-director with AVERTAC, and it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Miss Esther Littlewolf. She's a VRC with the Chief Dull Knife Voc Rehab Program in Lame Deer, Montana for the Northern Cheyenne Tribe. Today, we're going to be chatting back and forth about her life experience and how it overshadows pretty much everything I've ever done, because she's a superstar in her own right. So Esther, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and we'll get started.
My name is Corda Moon. I am a chief child, a fluent Cheyenne speaker. I love my job as a voc rehab counselor, working with especially my tribe. I also bring to the table as a counselor a ceremonial woman. The chief child status is a lifetime status. I'm a pipe carrier. I am a counselor. I have a counseling degree from the University of South Dakota, and I've been with Chief John Ive College Vocational Rehabilitation Program for 15 years. My father is Gilbert Littlewolf. He is my late father is Chief Gilbert Littlewolf, a principal chief. And I'm well versed in my roles as a VR counselor and a traditional Cheyenne woman. I come from both bands of Cheyenne. My teachings have been through Sita, the ceremonial band. And this helps. And growing up here, I know most of the people here. And so when people come in, they already have a good idea of who I am, and I guess expecting help. That's what I hear all the time is that, can you help me?
And Esther, I had the pleasure of working with you for several years. Can you explain a little bit about how your role as a woman, ceremonial woman, has allowed you to really connect and engage with some of your female consumers?
Okay, part of the orientation that I do with my consumers, when it comes to the cultural component, I tell them what's available to them. And my knowledge in knowing the woman's role, like in the ceremonies, out in the community, and myself as an elder now, it shows my lifestyle, that it's not, something that I've just learned and I talk about. I live it. And I love everything that I've learned. It has created a very strong Cheyenne identity. And that's what some of the women seek, how do you know when you got it? And so I explained that you can feel it, you can explain it, and you can tell why. You can say why.
And what do you find that happens within your case when you're working with that relationship and developing that relationship? What does that strong identity create for you in that counseling relationship with your consumers?
Well, I think it encourages them to start taking risks to better themselves. It helps in ways, especially in the cultural way of what they know and what they learn, what they've experienced. It allows the consumer to trust and to start sharing. And sometimes there are consumers that do have a Cheyenne identity, and then there's some that are in the process. And just talking about answering their questions, mostly about being a Cheyenne woman. There's separate roles when it comes to like Sundance. When my son went to Sundance, I knew my role exactly, what I needed to do. And then the male role of the ones putting on Sundance, and then his painter, who was a man that is taking him through Sundance. And so the roles are very different, but they come together as one.
Well, and let's be honest, as your former director, I also know that your language allows you to tease your director with your clients, and I didn't know what you were saying. So That's another part of it, the secretive banter that I know you have.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing that I really work toward is them being comfortable to be able to say anything, personal, professionally. But the culture component, for me, is the way in with them. It creates a path, that goes both ways, and that is needed. That I've come to know for our consumers to be, to become employed and to be successful.
So I know you also got a closet full of medicine. Can you talk a little bit about how that comes into play?
Okay. I have family that I have a brother in North Dakota that grows all the medicines in his backyard, and he sends me everything that I need. And the medicines that are used in our ceremonies, we also use as medicine for our health. And now with COVID going on, like the bear root and the bitter root have been very helpful in people not having really severe symptoms of COVID. And so I have bear root and bitter root, sage, sweetgrass, elderberries, prayer cloths. Sometimes people will do prayer cloth ceremonies or pray for their families using prayer cloths. And I tell them that also this is available to them through the as a voc rehab service.
Esther, thank you for your time today. I really enjoy talking to you about how your role as a chief's child and a ceremonial woman connect you with your consumers in the community. And I really like how that cultural component is shown through the AVERS programs. And that's really what sets us aside from a lot of the state VR programs. So thank you for your time. And I really enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
My name is Wayne.
And now the Pueblo of Jemez in New Mexico presents a success story from Project Hope.
I work for Project Hope at my local library. Project Hope helped me almost for 2 months now and helped me a lot, being motivated to have a job and meet new people and learn how to make money and learn how to get a job before you graduate high school and after high school.
Hello, this is Zach Toya. I work at Dion's as a dining room assistant. I take care of the dining room. I make sure the bathrooms and the tables to be clean. And I see missing items. I return to the manager, and it's busy. It's busy time to time. And I like it.
For Project Hope, I'm working at with public health. My first thought was I was kind of nervous and it seemed like interesting too. So I just wanted to know more about it. So I looked more into Project Hope, and I found like a lot of opportunities. So I was willing to work with the public health, because being healthy is like the most important thing, and trying to make younger kids follow that path.
I'm Humberto Macias III. I go to Bernalillo High School and I'm a participant of Project Hope. I work at the Jemez Community Library. I'm an assistant to the librarian. I mostly help with people through like printing and making sure they're signed in and make sure all the books are in order, and other various jobs I do over there.
My name is Manuel Patino. I live in Jemez Pueblo, Mexico. I'm a participant of Project Help. I work at a NRD, the Natural Resource Department here in Jemez Pueblo. Some of the new skills that I've learned while working at NRD is water sampling and learning how to graph or point locations on maps.
I feel that any employer that participates in Project Hope will benefit just as much as the students will. I feel that these students bring a lot of values and talents, and it's just a matter of collaborating and working together with them to open up their talents, their communication styles, and allows them to see their value and what they can bring to a work site or a job site, depending on the work setting.
Some of my first thoughts of Project Hope was I was very nervous, and I like to stay in my shell and be like my kind of person and not towards like outside. But I was very nervous and shy when I came to Project Hope, but it really made me a better person by trying to be more out of my shell, and it represented me in a good position to my future.
Some of my thoughts about Project Hope are it's very beneficial to upcoming adults or youth who are turning into adults. I feel like it's a great opportunity to take. It helped me a lot with job skills, how to be a better employer, and what to expect going into college, how to prepare, what to expect when looking for a job, when you're out of college, just different types of life skills.
What I like most about participating in Project Hope is they have all these opportunities, and they have a great transportation program where your parents or yourself won't have to drive to your work site. Project Hope has helped me out with a couple communication skills and customer service skills, because before I really never talked to people just because I wasn't comfortable being around certain people I don't know.
Project Hope has been a tremendous benefit to the students that we have served. When they first came in, they were shy, they didn't have employability skills, and through just 6 months being in the program, we have watched them grow and change and really learn some of the things they need to know to be successful employees. We have been thrilled to collaborate with the Department of Education here at Jemez, as well as the Department of Education at ZIA, and then of course our main partner who provided so much of the funding was the State of New Mexico Division of Voc Rehab. It's just been something we've dreamed of. We know that it would help students with disabilities, and to see it come to full fruition has been amazing.
I thank Project Hope for helping me out and finding myself in life and what I need to proceed doing and all that. And I just look forward to looking for more opportunities.
I would like to thank the person who helped me get through everything with my application and helping me like basically get my background check and helping me come out here, probably coming out of my comfort zone maybe, to meet new people and getting my first job, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I would like to thank Rebecca and Yolanda for giving me this opportunity to be in Project Hope.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to Yolanda and Rebecca and the people who helped put together Project Hope, because it's helped me a lot, and I know it's helping other students a lot, help find jobs and just get exposure to the workforce.
And now to discuss transitioning from traditional healing to employment, from the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina, please welcome Miss Celeste Hunt.
Thank you, August. I'm going to move to the next slide real quick. I'm going to try to make an adjustment for our technical difficulties with the closed captioning. So one moment, please. And then we'll move to the next slide.
My name is Celeste Hunt, and I am the program manager for the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina Vocational Rehabilitation Program. Traditional healing plays a key role in moving to a successful employment outcome in the vocational rehabilitation process in Indian country. As we look across this beautiful river, the Lumber River, I think of our elders and how they are so strong. They are strong as the river. Providing traditional healing services such as prayer, smudging, talking circle, and natural medicines have been passed down from generation to generation. This has made a difference in the lives of our people. Physical and mental disabilities can be seen and unseen. Our people feel comfortable working in a plan for employment with their own people, making this a successful employment outcome. Not only does the consumer benefit from a successful outcome, but the whole family benefits as well.
Please enjoy this video developed by Lori McLean, Project Director of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Indian Reservation, that discusses creative collaborations leading to employment outcomes.
I've worked in this position for about 7 years, and when I remember back when I first got here, I noticed that we weren't utilizing all the resources that we could. Our budget couldn't cover everything that our customers needed in order for them to get training for the jobs that were available here. So I decided to look at what resources were available For example, I met people in Taro, and Taro could provide job dispatch services, training, help me with the counseling that some people needed. Also, I met employment and training, and they could do general assistance, they could do college support, they could help pay for books, supplies, TANF, they could do, along with employment training, both employment training and TANF, they both do work experiences, and so they're called WEXs, and so we can get some experience for some of our customers who want to go right into the workplace.
Voc Rehab has benefited my goals in life by helping me figure out my future goals for college, helping me apply for college, and figure out a plan for my future.
Since working with Voc Rehab, it has helped me immensely with my current goals in life. Because right now I do suffer from depression and anxiety problems, so I get stressed out really easy. And so I got through the Taro program, and they placed me with Voc Rehab as an admin assistant. And the reason why they had placed me with Voc Rehab is that they understand disabilities very well. And my current goal is to get through college. And with Voc Rehab, they're really accommodating if I need to get to school, get schoolwork done. They'll let me leave when I need to get it taken care of. Or if I'm stressing out too bad or having like a panic attack or something that's just overly stressing or stimulating to me, they're very understanding with that too. So I've been getting this work experience that's needed in the field I'm going for, which is accounting and business, while still allowing me this kind of freedom in my life to get other things taken care of.
So I really like this program because the beginning of our IPE plan, I was to get into the business of food carts. Along the way, my mind has changed, and I was able to talk freely with my counselor, and she said what this program is for is to expand my horizons and not feel like a failure if it was not something that I was interested in. So we went to a different plan, and so going to college, they also have me get involved with higher education through our tribe, and so now higher education is working with Voc Rehab, and so I can figure out my career goals.
One thing that comes to mind is that Taro is way over in Nisqually, and Voc Rehab gets to serve all 4 districts and really gets to know people well. So a lot of the meetings that Lori had went to, I was able to tag along, and we got to meet people from the state, people from the county, people from the various commerce, economic development groups that are around our community. And so in that way, we really help take full advantage of resources that aren't only tribal, but regional or county or state resources.
In bartending, it wasn't the type of work environment that I wanted to be in. So they helped me find a different field to try out. They helped me get into construction. I got my flaggers card, but then COVID hit, like as soon as I had gotten all that worked through. So right now, with the help of Taro, I'm going into a programming camp.
Helped connect me with the employment training program pretty easily. They called them for me and gave them all the information, and all I had to do was sign some paperwork and write out a letter and request of what I needed. But they applied for me, and I got accepted the same day.
Not only are they working on their experience and job skills, but there's a lot of other things that we're working on besides. We give them flexibility so they can do their counseling. We give them all the training they need to apply for full-time positions within the tribe.
So working with these programs with Taro and Voc Rehab, it was so quick. The transition was so incredibly seamless for me. I got both applications done and accepted, and like a whole plan worked out for me within 1 to 2 days. Like they really cared and tried their best to make this transition as easy as possible for us.
We try to get people aligned with the best training opportunities. A lot of times that requires tools or resources that they can't afford yet because they're not employed. So we partner sometimes with like Voc Rehab's clients because they have the ability to access some things that are allowed by grants, some things are not. We also have to work with employment and training at times because they have things that are allowed versus things that aren't allowed, but by the collaboration and cooperation, we're usually able to get them to their first day of work so that they can start a new career.
We went step by step with obtaining, well, with all my goals. So Voc Rehab has helped me with gas vouchers to and from my appointments, also with employment, trying to gain employment. And they did get me with employment and training and Taro. So I am a client with 2 other programs besides Voc Rehab, and they have all worked together to help me get clothing vouchers, obtain a WEX position, also with car repairs, and even help me with getting into college.
Voc Rehab has benefited multiple aspects of my life. They helped me first by getting an evaluation of my mental health, and they helped me get a better understanding of my disabilities, ones that I knew that I had, as well as ones that I learned that I had, and helped me find like a daily way to kind of work with them or work around them. They helped me get my driver's license.
Along with my priorities to make these connections, I really wanted it to feel like it was a seamless connection. I didn't want the customers to come in and I give them a long list of what they needed to do to work with these other programs. So if somebody came in and I knew what these other resources could be, like I would just pick up the phone and we would do the referral right over the phone. I wouldn't say, well, you need to go to this department or that department or fill out this applications. I had the applications right here and we would fill them out. I would fax them or scan them to the departments so the customers wouldn't have to do multiple trips to different departments and talk to people. They eventually have to do what the other department needs them to do, signatures and such, but I tried to make it as seamless as possible so they weren't running all over the place or they couldn't remember what counselor did what. So that was really important to this whole process. And I want you to meet a few people who really worked hard on to help them get what they need, whether it was college or training or work experience and counseling. And because we've had quite a few successes with shared cases. We share with the state, we share with TANF, we share with Taro, and we're sharing a building now with Taro, and we share expenses for this building with Taro. And so it's really nice to be able to get some training paid for, get their job dispatching with Taro so that not only do they get the training, then they get dispatched to different jobs. And sometimes they need support, so we can go and support them if needed. We have a person who was just sent out on a job, but he has to travel over a mountain to get to it. And Taro did the job placement, but he really needed snow tires, so we paid for the snow tires, and Taro paid for the training and the job. So it's a really successful collaborations. I think people enjoy having a team, knowing that a whole team of people care for them rather than just us alone.
Book Rehab has helped me with my car. My car was currently broke down, but I let them know and they helped me do the payment because otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford it. Also, they helped me connect with another program like Employment and Training. I've never been a part of Employment and Training, and they connected me the same day that I requested help with my car. It was pretty fast and easy.
Definitely been accommodating to my disabilities, the ones that I knew of and the ones that I was learning of as well. One being I have like dyslexia, so they help me read through applications to make sure that I understand it, to also make sure that I'm filling out everything that I need to, in case I've overlooked something in the process, as well as with my PTSD, providing a calm atmosphere.
We want them to feel like it's not just one person taking care of them, but the whole tribe cares.
You have to unmute August.
Oh, and we'll do this again. And now the Comanche Tribe of Oklahoma presents a success story of Carlos.
Carlos is 23 years old. He became paraplegic when his vehicle was hit by an individual under the influence of drugs. At the time of the accident, he was a freshman in college. It was through his strength and determination that he returned back to college. His courage and positive attitude has been recognized by many health professionals. He has been asked numerous times to visit and speak with spinal cord injury patients at hospitals as far away as Oklahoma City. He is now a certified peer mentor with the Reese Foundation and the United Spinal Cord Association. He is also a member of the Comanche Nation's Vocational Rehabilitation Program Advisory Board.
My disability is a result of a motor vehicle accident. April 16, 2013, I was in my second semester of my freshman year at Cameron University. I was on my way to school, and a lady ran a stop sign and hit me. When she hit me, she hit my driver's side back door of my Yukon, and that caused me to flip. I did not have my seatbelt on, and my leg got caught in between the roof and the steering wheel, and that's what kept me from getting ejected. From there, I was flown to OU Medical Center. I was in OU Medical Center from April 16th to June 6th. From June 6th, I was released to Jim Thorpe Rehab, and then from there, I spent 4 weeks there. Then I was released, and from there, I started my career back in school. My disability, I really don't feel like it affects my employment goal. As of right now, I'm certified by 2 companies here in the United States. One of them is United Spinal, and the other is the Christopher and Donna Reeve Foundation. They're both really big foundations in the United States for peer mentoring. And peer mentoring is basically when you're paired up with another individual, in my case with a spinal cord injury, and I help them find resources. I talk them through their disability. I talk them through what's to be expected of spinal cord injury, things of that nature. How I initially got into peer mentoring is whenever I was in the ICU, one of the, I believe she was a respiratory doctor, she came to me and told me, she said, hey, we have these 2 gentlemen. Sometimes they come up, they talk to people who are, new to being paralyzed. They kind of talk about their story. They let you know what they do and things like that. And they, I told them, I said, yeah, bring them up. And that's kind of what got me started. They told me what they did in their everyday lives. They told me that they still drove, and they told me that they worked and things like that. And I had always told myself, once I get out of here, that's something that I want to do. And I kept that promise to myself. And I've been doing that now for 3 years. 3 years, and I have over 30 patients that I have logged that I've talked to, and my name's gotten passed around different company to company. I've gone here and there talking to different companies about, what I've gone through, there's been a few area high school teams that I've talked to, just things of that nature. So initially, whenever I first went to college, I was actually majoring in math, and I was wanting to become a math teacher and a coach, football coach. Whenever I went back to the college, I still stuck with the math, and I changed majors, not because math was too hard, but I became friends with the director of disabilities there at Cameron. And I found out what she did, how she helped people with disabilities, and that really just changed my whole outlook on everything. And I realized, I can do a whole lot more helping people than I can, being a math teacher. That's whenever I really started feeling like I could branch out. I was really starting to become comfortable with what was happening. And so from there, that's whenever I branched out, and I decided that I wanted to become a psychology major. So now, I am a junior at Cameron, and I will be graduating possibly next May. And from there, I'll go into my master's. It'll definitely be on the counseling side. I haven't decided what branch of counseling that I want to do, but that's the plan. So I was actually conscious through the whole accident. I remember the entire thing. I remember getting hit. I remember flipping. I remember being put into the ambulance, then from the ambulance into the helicopter. And the whole time I knew it wasn't good because I obviously wasn't up walking around. And but for some reason I just remained really calm. I don't know, I've always had that really calm demeanor about me. And that's a really hard thing to really grasp whenever you can't walk. But I don't know, just something deep down just told me, remain calm, everything's gonna be okay. And there was a few times in the hospital whenever I was feeling really bad. I still remember it perfectly. There was a car commercial, and the song in the background was Bob Marley's "The Three Little Birds." The chorus is "Every little thing's gonna be all right." And every time I was having a really bad day in the ICU, that song came on, and that just kind of clicked in my head, like, hey, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to work out in your favor. And so I just kind of look for, with me in life, one of the things that I really look out for whenever things are going bad is, like, what's one little thing in my life that's going to make sure that you got to find something good. You have to find something positive each and every day, no matter how big or how small. And I think that helps me every day keep the demeanor that I have all the time. It's really, really seldom that I get down and sad. Like I said, you just have to find the little things that kind of keep you going, and I feel like that's kind of what helped me along. And also, I'd been an athlete my entire life, and so I feel like everything that I had learned being an athlete, from playing t-ball starting whenever I was 5 or 6, and then playing t-ball all growing up into my adolescence. And once I get into high school and stuff, I started playing more football. And and the coaches are hard on you. They're super hard on you. You're practicing in the heat, and you're wondering to yourself, why am I putting myself through this? And then here I am in the ICU. I have scars up and down my body from the ICU now, and I don't know, I just feel like everything that I had done in my life just kind of led me up and just prepared me for that situation. So with the state Voc Rehab, with the state DRS, they remodeled my truck. I need specialty equipment in my vehicle. With my truck, my driver's seat turns outside of the cab, lowers down to the ground. From there, I transfer over to the driver's seat. I take my cushion off. I keep a backpack on me at all times with medical supplies. Take my backpack off as well. And there's a crane in the bed of my truck. I have a remote that swings around. It grabs my chair for me. From there, I use another remote. I go back up into the cab. And then from there, I direct my wheelchair into the bed, and then I'm off on my way. Another couple services that they helped me out with is, I hate to backtrack, but whenever I first went back to school, I was still receiving OLAP at the time, Oklahoma's Promise. And where my fracture is it affects my hands, so my hands don't work as well. And I took a few heavily writing-based classes, and I shouldn't have, or I should have asked for more help than I did. And I ended up failing a couple classes, and that ended up taking me off of my grant that I was getting. So from there, I talked to the state about it, and the state actually helped me pay my tuition and books. So that's another service they provided. I have to get my truck serviced. My hand controls on my truck, I have to get them serviced every 6 to 8 months. So they helped me pay for that. So I got two really big awards last year. Yeah, it was last year. I got two really big awards last year. One of them is the Friend of Trauma Award. I got that from OU Medical Center. That's one of the facilities that has my number to call whenever they have a new patient, and they don't just go right to the patient and say, "Hey, we have somebody coming to visit you." So at first they tell them a little bit about me, let them know that I used to be there in the ICU, and if you're up for it, then he can come and visit you if you would like. And so if they want, then I'm there. I'll go talk to them. And I got Friend of Trauma for as much time that I spent up there last year. Another big award that I got was from Jim Thorpe Rehab. That's the rehab facilitation that I was at. And I got their Courage Award just from going above and beyond somebody with my injury would do. And as busy as I am, as many patients as I talk to up there. So I got a really big award for that. And my picture's up in the hospital there now, so.
And now to discuss non-traditional employment outcomes in rural and remote areas, Ms. Gwen Sargent, Project Director of the Kodiak Area Native Association's Vocational Rehabilitation Program.
Shamai, my name is Gwen Sargent, and I'm the Kodiak Area Native Association's Tribal Vocational Rehabilitation Director, and our program is located on Kodiak Island in Alaska. The American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services programs throughout Indian country receives its funding from RSA through a competitive grant process. Unique about this program is that it allows tribes to increase capacity to offer VR services that incorporate culturally relevant services, including traditional healing practices, traditional knowledge, and customs to tribal citizens with disabilities seeking employment. Alaska has nearly 34,000 miles of tidal shoreline and is the largest state by area, comprising more total area than Texas, California, and Montana combined. Alaska is also the least densely populated state and has over 200 tribal villages that are located in some of the most rugged, remote, and rural areas. The majority of these villages are not connected by roads and rely on small aircraft and boats as a means of transportation. Alaska's indigenous population is proportionally highest of any US state at over 15%. The Alaska Tribal VR programs have the privilege of providing innovative services that meet the varied needs of our tribal citizens, and we are able to customize our programs based on each region's demographic. Alaska tribal VR programs face many of the same challenges other tribal voc rehab programs on reservations do, including limited employment opportunities, disproportionate health issues, including substance abuse, lack of infrastructure, low economic growth, lack of internet, and challenges with weather, as well as the high cost of transportation providing services in these remote areas. Due to the lack of employment in the 6 outlying villages on Kodiak, the CANA Tribal Voc Rehab Program works closely with the consumer in developing an employment plan that includes subsistence gathering, preparation, and preservation as a means of increasing self-sufficiency. Subsistence is a form of self-employment and can be a standalone employment plan or combined with seasonal or other employment. Subsistence practices encompass a lifestyle. As with many indigenous groups, it is crucial for passing along knowledge, sustaining economic livelihood, and also providing sustenance during the long winter months. Subsistence includes gathering, harvesting, preparing, and consuming of wild resources, including birds, marine mammals, fish, and plants. It is an important aspect for many rural families who depend on subsistence hunting, fishing, and gathering as a resource and as a source of nutrition and also cultural practices. Through this important funding, we are able to be innovators in developing culturally relevant services that strive to meet the needs of our tribal citizens and provide vital services to the underserved. RSA's willingness to continue to fund technical assistant agencies, training institutions, and programs that focus on building tribal capacity attests to RSA's commitment in ensuring individuals with disabilities can become employed and live healthy, independent lives. Here's to another 100 years of success. Koyana, and thank you. Shamai.
And now a success story of James from the St. Regis Mohawk tribe in New York.
Sago, I'm Jamie Bay. Welcome to another video spotlight that we like to call Consumer Success Stories, sponsored by the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe's Tribal Vocational Rehabilitation Program. In today's segment, we're going to be taking a look at one of our program's most valuable assets, the people we serve. Every year, our TVR program works with between, on average, 90 and 100 individual clients. These clients, or as we call them, consumers, work towards an employment or self-employment goal, whereby the consumer actively works with one of our program counselors to develop an individualized plan for employment. This plan is based on informed choice, based on the individual's strengths, interests, priorities, and passions. Consumer and counselor work hand in hand, a partnership, as we could say, with the ultimate objective being that the consumer achieves and maintains their employment or self-employment goal. To this end, we like to say that the success of our program is only as good as the success of each of our consumers. So let's hear some examples directly from the people we serve. Welcome to Consumer Success Stories.
My name is James. I'm 30 years old. I'm a cook here in Hogansburg. I became involved with TVR program about 12 years ago when I was going through high school, graduating high school, transitioning to college and to the workforce. My disability is I'm legally blind. And from 16, they were able to help because I was gonna need to transition into the workforce anyway or into the world, you know.
When I had first started working with James, I just thought he was quiet and very kind, and he just had needed a little bit of help. When they need someone, they call him, he goes. And that shows responsibility. It also shows a willingness to help out when need be, and that he does deserve the permanent position.
The Commission for the Blind and TVR sent me to Boston in 2011 to the Carroll Center for the Blind to learn how to do basic stuff without losing my vision. I have a lot of usable vision left, but I needed that experience with other people. Through TVR, figured out a goal to somehow I wanted to become a cook. And I went through Yoahio, got my 1-year certificate through Algonquin College. Came back to TVR. TVR helped me get my resume together, my paperwork together, and submitted it to a position that needed a cook filled here, and then I did that last year, and I've been doing that ever since. Just to come down with like a willingness to learn and like learn about working with your disability to get you a job, to get you an opportunity, to get you a goal, to get you somewhere, you know what I mean?
The progress our consumers make is completely up to them, and we are just here to help them along. We try to focus more on the abilities rather than the disabilities.
I really do applaud the people who have reached out to our program to get the help that they could use, and so that they don't feel so alone or struggle as much as they would unnecessarily.
There's no reason to be ashamed or discouraged about having a disability. There's no judgment down here. There's no reason not to come down to find something to do for work. There's a lot to be done.
They help me build my work skills as an individual. They help build my confidence. They help me learn all the coping skills that I need to for like myself, just to basically get to where I need to.
I'd like to say thank you to the TBR program and my caseworker, Fallon. It was awesome working with you.
Everyone has weaknesses, and maybe whatever your weakness is, the program could help you. It's nothing to be scared of to get help for. Thank you.
To discuss program continuity and impact in the days of COVID-19, a video from the Navajo Nation's Vocational Rehabilitation Program Project Director, Paula Sorrell-Sines.
Yat Paula Sorrell-Sines, Dashitane, Kinlichini, Snedo Twig Dini Bashishin, Banagati Dashiche, Ashin Dashinala. Greetings from the Navajo Nation. My name is Paula Sorrell-Sines, and I'm the Director for the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services. Our program provides vocational rehabilitation services to Navajos and other people with disabilities residing on or near the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation's Vocational Rehabilitation Program was the first American Indian VR program in the country. I want to acknowledge our leaders who were instrumental in paving the way for American Indians and Alaska Native individuals with disabilities to have access to vocational rehabilitation services. More importantly, to have access to culturally appropriate services in communities where Native people reside. The Navajo Nation has a long history of providing services to people with disabilities, despite the many disparities that exist. American Indian and Alaska Native individuals experience higher rates of disability related to type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic conditions. Rates of disability in younger persons are also higher than those noted for other racial and ethnic groups. More than 1 in 3 American Indian and Alaska Native children live in poverty. American Indian and Alaska Native graduation rates is at 67%. Suicide is the second leading cause of death, 2.5 times the national rate for Native youth in the 15 to 24-year-old age category. Apart from issues related to disability and employment, American Indian and Alaska Native communities have experienced higher than average level of unemployment and underemployment for decades, and in some cases, centuries. Epidemic outbreaks are not new to Navajo people. Many of our elders are well aware of the Spanish flu of 1918. In addition, in 1993, hantavirus resulted in physically fit individuals suffering from shortness of breath and death due to acute respiratory failure. The Navajo Nation spans parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, and was greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. In May 2020, the Navajo Nation surpassed New York and New Jersey for the highest per capita coronavirus infection rate in the United States. Another sign of COVID-19 disproportionate impact on minority communities. Currently, the Navajo Nation continues to mitigate the second wave of COVID-19 infection rates. United States diseases like COVID-19 disproportionately impact Indigenous people for a variety of reasons, including, but not limited to, genetic and other health-related variations between Indigenous people and European Americans, poverty, and lack of access to health care, limited access to basic services like access to in-home clean water for hand washing and sanitation. The Navajo Nation leadership mobilized and began providing information out to communities through live radio and community chapter houses. A health operation incident command center was established, and the Navajo people were informed to take the necessary precautions to reduce the spread of the virus. Additionally, the Navajo Nation engaged in working with many state and federal resources to address the public health crisis as it impacted not only hospitals and nursing staff, but all frontline workers and support staff, such as mental health, finance, and transportation. Indian Health Services, FEMA, and CDC were deployed. They deployed their officers to assist with the mitigation efforts as they assisted with epidemiology, isolation, quarantine, and vaccine preparation. Many Navajo people were discouraged from having family gatherings and traveling off the Navajo Nation. So during this time, Navajo vocational rehabilitation staff helped assisting the leadership of the Navajo Nation by providing care packages, maintaining contact with consumers to assist with any mental health needs that they may have. The leadership of the Navajo Nation team made decisions by listening to public health experts and telecasted information to mandate mask wearing, encouraging social distancing, hand washing, and staying at home. The Navajo Department of Economic Development also provided small business relief fund for artisans who were affected during this time. So many of our consumers applied for and received artisan relief funds for their self-employment endeavors. Each tribal community is unique, and staff understand how to integrate Indigenous values and practices in helping their communities with services. This particular slide that I have presented is the Navajo Nation's model or approach to providing culturally appropriate vocational rehabilitation services. There are 573 federally recognized tribes and 62 state recognized tribes or non-federally recognized tribes across the United States. Each tribe is a sovereign nation and is unique with its own individual history, organizational structure, and relationship with the US government. The Navajo people remain resilient. The Navajo people survived the Army attacks and were starved into submission and forced march to Bosque Redondo, known as the Navajo Long Walk. The Long Walk of the Navajo people was an Indian removal effort of the United States government. It began in 1963. Navajo people were finally able to return home to their sacred homelands in 1868 by agreeing to the Treaty of 1868. Regardless of the atrocities at this time in Navajo history, Navajo people know the importance of history, culture, our ceremonies, our prayers, and we incorporate that into our way of life. To some, resilience may simply mean to bounce back, but in Navajo communities, we have the ability to positively cope with the stress that has been brought about by this pandemic. I want to thank you for allowing me to share the Navajo Nation's approach to providing vocational rehabilitation services from a culturally appropriate manner.
Please enjoy this success story of Benji from the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians featuring Benji, Casey Bird, and Mary Lundy Maruvia.
We are really excited that the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program success story was chosen for this presentation. It not only demonstrates the excellent service provision that our staff have provided to assist an individual with a disability to achieve great personal success, but it also, because our success story is one of our staff members now, that success story is something that demonstrates the future success that will be forthcoming from the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce two of the key players in our success story. And one is our prior VR participant, Mr. Benji Dixon. And second is his VR counselor, Miss Casey Bird.
When I was asked to submit a success story several years ago for an article, it didn't take me very long. It was not very hard to think about who I wanted to write about. An individual who I had the opportunity and the privilege of helping, who experienced quadriplegia due to an accident, Mr. Benji Dixon, who is a coworker of mine now and was a client of mine then, really stood out in my mind. Benji has overcome a lot. He has come from being dependent on others for a lot of things in his daily activities, like getting to work, going and doing things in public that he needs to do, being now a very independent individual in everything that he does. He can go and do the things he wants to do when he wants to do them. He has, like I said, become a coworker of ours because of his becoming independent, and he has now has the ability and the vehicle to drive himself to work, and he's independent in his transfers in and out of his vehicle to get into work. And so I have watched him grow from the individual who was dependent upon others to someone who's very, very independent and self-determined. And I'm so thankful and that I had the honor and the privilege of being part of his journey.
Okay, hello, my name is Benji Dixon. I'm quadriplegic due to a motor vehicle accident back in 1993, and I was 33 years old at the time, and when I was in the hospital and got out, maybe about 3-4 months later, and got into rehabilitation center, and I had no idea that this VR program had existed until my sister requested what I would be needing for my mobility, and the doctors told them that I would be needing a wheelchair, and she came back to the reservation and talked to some people that how I could get my wheelchair purchased, and I guess she contacted one of the VR counselor, and I think that was Mary Maruvia, my supervisor, and she she is the person that got me interested in coming into training. And then later on, there was a part-time job opening for a rehabilitation technician. And she recommended me to the late Dave Philip Martin. And then later on, they had approved for my application. And so I started working with the program for about a few hours a day at a time. And then it got increased to right now I'm working 25 hours a week. And I'm enjoying it. When I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing right now, I don't think that I would want to be caught like at home and just doing nothing. I don't want to be I'm not that kind of person. I just have to be doing something, moving around. And then later on, I purchased a vehicle, and this program modified for me to get in truck, and they even purchased a wheelchair lift for me on the truck. And that's how I got around. But prior to that, I was using public transit, that I was going to work and going back home. But that, I'm not doing that no more. I'm just gotten to where I can be independent. I could, just get in the vehicle where I want to go. And mostly it's just coming to work and going back home. But every now and then I have to go shopping. And I've got a couple of friends that help me, like shopping, grocery shopping, clothes, or whatever. And they help me a lot. I used to be so embarrassed to go in public in a wheelchair, but now that doesn't exist anymore. I just want to go where I want to go, like even public area, like, crowded people. And now I can just do whatever I want to do. And I'm just glad that I can be part of a VR program, helping other people too with disabilities. Hopefully, everything will be improving as I'm getting old, and I've still got some barriers, but I usually come over it. I'm just glad that I can be part of a VR program again. I consider them as my second family, and that's just about all that I can see and say. That I shared. Thank you for the VR program, and that's just about it. Thank you.
And now, to discuss suggestions for state and tribal VR collaboration, please enjoy this video of Mariah Kruger from the State of Alaska's Division of Vocational Rehabilitation and John Ringlero from the Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitative Services.
Yad she Winona Reed Yanshia, Turajini Nishla, Vilagana Bushichin, Senzakina Dashache, Vilagana Dashanella. My name is Winona Reed. I am here at AVERTAC on the campus of Northern Arizona at the base of the Sacred Mountain to many tribal members in the state of Arizona. The Navajos call it Do'ok-o-Sleed. It means snow-capped mountain. Today, we are going to be expanding on a presentation from September 29th that AVERTAC had, where we talked with some former state VR directors who are now, or former tribal VR directors who are now state VR staff. The title was AVERS and State VR Collaborative Partnerships, Maintaining Linkages. Today we have Mariah Kruger, who is Chief of Services for the Alaska Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, as well as John Ringlero, the Tribal Liaison for the Oklahoma Division of Rehabilitation. Welcome, Mariah.
Thank you for the introduction, Winona. As she stated, my name is Mariah Kruger. I am the Chief of Services for the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. I've been with the state for 8 years now, and prior to coming to the state of Alaska, I was actually a project director for Cook Inlet Tribal Council's Tribal Vocational Rehabilitation Program. One of the reasons that I was actually brought on board was our director at the time was very interested in strengthening the state's relationship with our tribal vocational rehabilitation partners. Here in Alaska, we have 10 different programs throughout the entire state, which covers a huge geographical area that the state of Alaska is also responsible for. I would say, as far as collaboration with our tribal partners, one of the unique factors that we have here in Alaska is that we actually have counselors who are designated counselors for rural hub areas. And oftentimes those are where our tribal VR partners are located as well. We do a lot of training as far as cultural respect and understanding the culture before our counselors go into any of those areas. We do a lot of collaboration as far as joint cases in these regions. We work very closely with the tribal VR project directors as well as their staff to make sure that we're delivering culturally relevant services that are needed in many areas that have not a lot of employment opportunities for individuals. So oftentimes that could look like self-employment, including subsistence types of activities for individuals who have applied for services. The tribal VR programs in Alaska many years ago, actually prior to even my involvement with tribal VR, had developed a consortia of the existing TVR programs throughout the state. And that consortia has two co-chairs, and those co-chairs are the individuals who I most frequently communicate with. In my role with the state as the chief, I am also the tribal liaison. And oftentimes when we are wanting to do meetings or gatherings with our tribal VR partners, I will coordinate that with our TVR consortia co-chairs. One of the things that the state of Alaska is committed to is that partnership. We have written in increasing collaboration and strengthening our partnership into our strategic plan. Additionally, we've also put that those activities that will help do that that strengthening into our state plan as well, our WIOA state plan. We make sure that we get input from our tribal partners in both our state plan as well as our strategic plan. And by doing that, we're able to make sure that we're utilizing the information that they have about their local areas or their local needs of the individuals that they serve, so we can make sure that we're cognizant of those needs to be able to appropriately serve all of the areas of the state of Alaska. In addition to the state plan and the strategic plan, we also have a collaborative agreement with our tribal VR partners. And it's not individual agreements. It is an agreement with the entire consortia. So that would include all 10 of our tribal partners and our division director, as well as our commissioner of the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, which is where the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation sits within the state system. As the tribal liaison, it is much more efficient and effective for me to be able to get an agreement in place for not only our tribal partners to be able to submit their grants, but for us also as a division to be able to make sure that we have written written collaboration down so we can share those with our rural hub counseling staff as well, so that they understand the expectations that our tribal partners have of us. So oftentimes, if we need to do an update to that MOU, doing it in a way where I work with our tribal partners, I get a fully signed document from all 10 of those directors. I am able to relatively quickly turn around and get our division director as well as our commissioner's signatures. So it really makes that process a lot more efficient for me as that liaison to do one MOU versus having to try to get 10 signatures from our commissioner at different times. The other thing that we've also included in our MOU is a contingency plan in case one of our tribal partners does not receive funding. However, I will say that sometimes that can be a little difficult, knowing whether or not an individual is going to, or not an individual, excuse me, whether or not a tribal VR program is going to get their funding in a timely manner. So oftentimes when we have grant programs that are up for refunding, we do start having earlier conversations about the what ifs. So those are the important pieces that we've included in our MOU as kind of an appendix to make sure that individuals with disabilities are being served continuously throughout the state of Alaska. Additionally, one of the other activities that the state of Alaska DVR has been really expanding upon in our rural and remote communities has been our pre-employment transition services throughout the state. The majority of the services that we actually provide to students with disabilities are in rural and remote Alaska. We do provide it in urban areas as well, but what we have found is that there is a greater need in many of these rural and remote areas where students are not always exposed to the world of work and what that transition to the world of work or higher education could look like. We do transition camps and flight clubs, and we do jobs, a school store. We have multiple activities where we utilize special education teachers in rural areas to be able to deliver a curriculum that we actually develop that provides students with opportunities for job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, instruction in independent living and self-advocacy. So we oftentimes work with our tribal partners when we're delivering those services in those areas, because those are individuals who are living in those regions, in their regions. So we work closely with them when we're going out there into those regions to try to gather as many students as possible to participate in the activities that we're helping to provide. One of the other since I've had experience in both tribal VR and now state VR, I think that one of the most important lessons that I've probably learned is that when I was with tribal VR, I felt I felt a lot more nimble. I felt like I had a lot more opportunity to make changes relatively quickly as far as what the needs of the program were, or what the needs of the individuals that we were serving more quickly. So when I came to the state, I have a better understanding now of why state services oftentimes seem to be a bit slower and appear to have more bureaucracy tied to them. And part of it is because they do. There are rules for pretty much everything from procurement to personnel. Nothing can be done with the stroke of a single pen. There's 2 to 3 to 4 layers of oversight of every dollar that's expended out of this program. And so I think that for me, understanding that, we have to have patience as partners with each other. Both the state has to have patience with our tribal partners as far as sometimes some of the potential politics that could be involved with some of what is going on with their programs, especially as far as grant requirements and requirements from their oversight, their tribal entity that has oversight but that same level of patience with the state as well, because we do have layers of bureaucracy that are oftentimes very difficult for us to do things as quickly as we would like to do them. I will say though that we definitely are very responsive to the needs of the individuals that we're serving, and we always make that a priority. So thank you so much for inviting me to speak today, and congratulations on 100 years of public VR.
Yeah, Mariah, thank you so much for presenting what the great work Alaska DVR is doing with the Alaska Tribal VR programs. Next, we are going to hear from John Ringlero, the Tribal Liaison for the Oklahoma Division of Rehabilitation.
Thank you, Winona, and just let me say that it is an honor to be part of the observance of 100 years of vocational rehabilitation services, particularly to address the provision of services, VR services to American Indians with disabilities. I want to also thank Ms. Mariah Kruger for the information that she shared in her position in Alaska. As it was stated, I am also a tribal liaison with the State Department of Rehabilitation Services, Oklahoma Department of Rehabilitation Services is also dedicated to the effort of providing beneficial, culturally relevant services to American Indians that reside in Oklahoma, particularly the ones that reside in tribal jurisdiction areas. Here in Oklahoma, we have 39 tribes. We also have 9 tribal VR programs that cover probably about 70% of the entire state. Some of our state counties don't have a high native population, but we are trying to address, as Ms. Kruger pointed out, we are trying to address this underserved population. Consistent with the Rehab Act, our state also has their efforts toward serving these populations in their WIOA state plan. Also, she mentioned what they call a collaborative agreement, but we call a cooperative agreement. We also have that. I was going to talk about a couple of things there. She made mention of something that's very interesting, how they have individual state agency staff assigned to the tribal programs. That is something that we're very interested in. I think that was an idea that was done in Wisconsin. It's just sometimes difficult to do because of the, I think because of the diversity of the tribes here in Oklahoma. But we do have counselors who are part of a peer group who basically try to build a relationship, a greater relationship with the tribal programs, the ones that state offices that exist in their areas. So we do have like a peer group. But I think some of the things in our cooperative agreement that I thought about that would be a little different is, of course, we hope to do as the programs are asked to describe in their grant applications. We ask them to try to fill the gaps that exist within the state and within the tribal programs, and to build capacity of each program. The state has this large capacity, especially when it comes to evaluation. And so we've tried to improve the referral processes for the tribes to be able to use the state's evaluation services, not only VOC evaluations, but psych evaluations and AT evaluations. So that's been something that we've tried to focus on, and that makes the tribal programs stronger. What the tribal programs offer is that cultural component that the state doesn't have, and so it's been really a good exchange between the state and non-native state counselors and the tribal programs when it comes to sharing the OKTVR. As Alaska has, Oklahoma also has a collective group. OKTVR stands for Oklahoma Tribal VR Council. And the Oklahoma Tribal VR Council is all of the 9 programs plus the state of Oklahoma. They have quarterly meetings where we've been slowed down a little bit by the pandemic, but we have quarterly meetings. And we also have shared trainings. OKTVR provides trainings to the state, which the state workers participate in. And a lot of it is a lot of cultural information that I think is helpful. You know, when you look at 100 years ago, 1920, you know, the natives were, American Indians were not even citizens until 4 years later. And so some of them not even able to vote until the 60s. So when you look at that, there's a lot of historical things that affect the way the natives use the services here in the state services. So we've had a good, like I said, a good exchange. I think a strength of Oklahoma, we're building that relationship between the tribal programs and their staff and the staff of Oklahoma, who are more non-native population of counselors. And I think that, you know, in my experience previously as a tribal VR director, it was, you know, that what the tribes brought as a strong part of their program was they had a strong spirit toward helping, and that's a benefit to the non-native counselors, that they can see that. But it also helps with us understanding each other's resources. One of the things that's in our cooperative agreement is we do have some description of how we'll share costs, and it's kind of understood about, you know, that the state VR agency is a greater resource when it comes to direct services. And so those are the kind of things that I think we used to kind of butt heads about, but it's really greatly improved the understanding. But I feel very proud and very blessed to be able to be the representative for the tribal liaison here in Oklahoma, because they do have that understanding, and that they do make a great effort to reach out to the tribes. And other than that, I just wanted to say thanks again as part of, to be part of this effort, and to take a point of time and say that we expect to make great improvements, and that we're providing a better service here for the natives in Oklahoma. I'm very proud to be part of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you stuck with us through this entire presentation, we appreciate your dedication to learning more about our American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services program. And now, as it is our custom for us American Indians, we will conclude with a closing prayer. I am honored to introduce you to Dr. Elmer J. Guy. Since 2006, Dr. Elmer J. Guy has served as the president of the Navajo Technical University, NTU, which is a member of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, a community of 38 tribally and federally chartered institutions of higher education. Prior to becoming president, Dr. Guy also served NTU as its vice president of academic and student services and is its dean of instruction. In 2011 and 2012, under Dr. Guy's leadership, NTU was named one of the top 120 community colleges in the United States by the Aspen Institute College of Excellence program. And for 2018, NTU is listed as one of the top 3 best higher education institutions in New Mexico, according to bestcolleges.com. Dr. Guy serves on the College Board as a trustee, vice chair of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium, co-chair of the World Indigenous Higher Education Consortium, and other regional and national associations. And finally, Dr. Guy holds the distinction of being the first president of the Consortium of Administrators for Native American Rehabilitation, KNAR for short, and was instrumental in building the KNAR organization. Please welcome Dr. Elmer J. Guy for the closing prayer, and thank you for traveling with us through this journey through the American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services Program.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you for this opportunity. Donen Schlenigi a Kapai, my discussni a Bashichin, Tohetlini Dashanale, Torichini Dasche, Chalchine Kentlichini Adat. What a wonderful program you all put together today. Special thanks to the folks who put the program together today. I think they did a fine job. It was nice to hear from the RSA Commissioner, Mark Schultz, as well an update from Karine, covering the rehab amendments in the 1970s and how it set up the foundation for sustainability. Funding that was increased from 650,000 to over 45 million today. That is wonderful. And funding is part of sustaining a program. The other important ingredient is people who are committed, those that have a heart, that care, who are professionals, accountable, creative. And many of you are like that on this call today. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for doing a wonderful job and to be part of this 100-year VR services. So he started with a prayer. It's also appropriate to end with a prayer. So if you can bear with me, I'll make it short. I know we're over time. American Indian Vocational Rehabilitation Services with ya. Since Kleji dan long a qua, Hashin so a ya hidden there, a lash clay, a Hashin so a bitch and the hasty. A ya in ka and dalgo. Inayat el needed or little binia. I could lie a teacher and the hidden the hasne. General a yabakata as Buklak or a hair. Aro and that Lishigito or Toya, because what it little they had our cat, Aro Congo a yadi, she just do it in on COVID-19, but no. Yet Hansney a Ashin is the Atskilabahado list. Aro could never and none that our care on it, little. Also, yaho, so is in the Libe has state of the law. In the near down a Sunday, at the ocean at the now constant law. But they young car hosting out of this law as to be any to lead on this. But our yeah, was on has lead on this. Was on has lead, was on has lead, was on has lead, was on has lead. Thank you very much for this time and be safe, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our webinar. We appreciate all of your dedication to staying with us. Kurashish Hawa. Have a good afternoon.